Savannah, Georgia. The Emerald City. The epitome of Southern hospitality. The artist's dream. A place to raise a family. A place to come for a vacation. A place to raise a family on vacation. Until Mother Nature turns the tables and wipes Savannah off the map. Tidal waves will eviscerate Tybee Island. Wipe away any trace of existence, and the Savannah that once was will be gone forever. You can't run. You can't hide. You will die.
Okay, stop. Does this sound a little ridiculous to anyone else? It's all like a Roland Emmerich movie, isn't it? Death and destruction. This isn't the apocalypse or the Oceanocalypse. This isn't the end of the world. It isn't even true. Well, it's not entirely true. Let's just unpause this thing and figure out what's really going on.
The myth about sea level rise is that it's something that's only happened relatively recently, when the reality is that we've had a constant rate of sea level rise over at least the last few hundreds of years, of maybe about 3 millimeters per year or about an inch per year here along the Georgia coast. And in the past, even within the last few 20,000, a few tens of thousands of years, we've had sea level fluctuations on the order of 100 meters or 300 feet. 18,000 years ago, sea level was over 100 meters lower, and so the shoreline was much further seaward than it is today. I think that in some sense the movies do a disservice to it in several ways. One is that they do make it look so dramatic, but two, they have a resolution that usually shows mankind triumphing over these kinds of problems by application of technology or some turn of the story, which, you know, so far our history of addressing those kinds of issues is not quite so coherent or so positive.
Well, is there any truth to it?
There is truth to it. I think part of the controversy is that whether this warming that's occurring is man-made or it's just a one of these natural cycles that we're going through. But you know, when it comes to managing our coastlines, whether it's man-made or not, the sea level is still rising, so you have to plan for it. You know, even if you don't believe that man is causing this problem, it might be worthwhile to plan for rising sea levels.
This slow rise of sea level that is sort of imprinted around the world is something that is a response to these larger rises and falls of sea level that are mostly related to continental cycles of glaciation. You know, we talk about the last ice age, and that peaked 18,000 years ago, as I mentioned. And so what we have is these rapid rises of sea level as the glaciers melt, and then we have this slow rising of sea level as glaciers continue to melt, as water warms, and as we add new water to the oceans from things like mid-Atlantic ridge venting and also from water from land. So right now we've got about a foot per century, and we may be looking at something on the order of 3 feet or more per century.
We know that the ocean temperature is rising and that is melting some of the polar ice caps, and that causes sea level to rise as well. Global warming is melting the polar ice caps, and history has shown us that, you know, during the ice ages, when the polar ice caps are really huge and covered most of North America, sea level was much lower. The beach was 40 miles offshore. And sea level's been rising since the end of the ice age, very slowly, but it seems to have increased in the past few decades.
So basically it's nothing new. It's a gradual process that started a long time ago and it's affecting the whole world. But why focus on Savannah?
Well, downtown Savannah actually is built on the highest bits of land that we have around here, so they probably are not going to be in danger of being flooded out anytime soon. Obviously during the largest hurricanes, which can bring 15, 20, 30 feet of water from the storm surge, will inundate most of the county. But there will still be small parts of the city of Savannah, the highest parts, that will be above those water levels.
Why can't we just drain the water?
When you have water coming up the pipes at high tide and water trying to get out through the same pipes, the water just has to back up and it can't get off of the land as effectively.
Oh, it's a gravity problem. Well, if we're on the highest ground, why do we have to worry?
It affects us because we're living on a low-lying coast. We have a very low coastal plain here. We're only a few feet above sea level right now. We're maybe 11 or 12 feet above sea level right here, so that we're going to be affected first. If there's any rise in sea level, it's going to affect these low-lying coastlines in the southeast first. Of course, the shoreline is just going to migrate inshore, and so even if the beach has lost a tide beyond, the beach will form someplace else, and turtles will find other places to nest, and animals can evolve and change their locations to, they do that all the time. Animals migrate to find the right temperature or find the right nesting beach, and they'll continue to do that. But we're probably going to have a harder time adjusting, I think, than they will.
Well, at least we don't have to worry about it right now. Am I wrong to feel good about that?
When it's 100 years, people think, well, that's not going to affect me because I'm not going to be here. But if it's 20 years, then all of a sudden that really changes the way you view the importance of an issue. I just think it's a human attitude for people to have, because typically if there's something you can't do anything about and it's not specifically, it's going to happen at exactly this point in time, it's a very human reaction to sort of put it out of your mind and think about, I'll deal with it if it happens.
I think there is, it's part of it is a natural cycle, that we're on one of these natural cycles where the Earth is warming, but we're also on top of that adding to that warming rate, and I believe that we can control that. But that what we've already done in terms of the amount of carbon dioxide and greenhouse gases that are in the atmosphere, we can't reverse that immediately. We can't even slow it down immediately. If we stopped everything today, we would still have that problem. So there's only so much that we can do, but I think if we start making those steps, it will help. And certainly reducing greenhouse gases has a lot of other positive effects too, so that we can work in that direction.
So why won't it have an immediate effect?
There is a lag time between when we stop emitting them and when they disappear from the atmosphere itself. So even if we stop putting out all CO2 right now, there's about a 100-year lag time that before the CO2 would start being purged from the atmosphere and temperatures would stop being increased by the presence of that CO2. So there's a lag time. And so we need to think about that in terms of how long will it take before, even after we make a major difference in what we're putting out, when will things start to stabilize?
It's always a good idea to reduce your carbon footprint for a number of reasons, even if you don't believe in global warming. It's always good to reduce your impact on the Earth. We can drive fuel-efficient vehicles, and we can drive less, and we can control the thermostats in our house so that we're not using as much energy. We can change our light bulbs. There's a lot of very simple things we can do to reduce our fuel consumption, and most of our fuel consumption is fossil fuels, and burning fossil fuels adds to greenhouse gases.
For right now, no matter what we do, things are going to continue to increase in terms of rising temperatures, rising sea level rates, and rising amounts of CO2 in the atmosphere.
The Earth is kind of a big place, and it's hard to, the continents are moving around, and some of them are sinking and some of them are rising, and I don't think we can control those kinds of things, but those things occur very slowly, so we might be able to keep up with them technologically. Rising sea level may start occurring faster, and it may require faster development of technology, but I think we probably can do those kinds of things. When you think about it, we put people under the ocean and on the moon, and we have people living in places that are not ideal because we can adapt the environment to us rather than adapting to the environment. I'm not saying that's the way we should do things, but I think that's the way we will do things.
So, there's the facts. Do what you will with them. Just remember, while it's not going to be as dramatic as the movies make it appear, know it's still an issue, and at some point, we have to deal with it.